Hi Aquarius, this is your December 2017 horoscope with me, Lada from Astrolada.com. And it's not only about December though, we're going to look at how Saturn in Capricorn is going to affect you for the next 2.5 years. And this is such an important transit for you because wherever Saturn goes, you go. Because Saturn rules you. Saturn is a traditional ruler of Aquarius, rules a big and very important, especially the material manifestations in your life. So looking, this would be something like a manual for you, how to cope, what to expect for the next 2.5 years. It's a very confusing transit because the energies of Saturn about building and the 12th house about dissolution kind of clash together. So I'm gonna walk you through this period and how to best solve it. But starting with December, Saturn for the last time in your 11th house. It's been there for 2.5 years almost. And Mercury going retrograde in your 11th house, Aquarius. So it's almost like a grand finale of Saturn's stay through your 11th house. So the matters and the issues and the experiences that you went through for the past 2.5 years, which are connected to your 11th house, can be revised, can be seen maybe from another point of view, can be recapitulated in a short amount of time in December. And you can make certain conclusions because Mercury retrograde is about making conclusions by re-examining the past in some way. And some things from the past over the past 2.5 years can come into your life. Then the 11th house is about friendships, for example. So maybe a friend from some time that you haven't seen will come and connect with you in your life. If there was something that created tension in the friendship, or friendship that fell apart in some way, or that was tested, will be re-examined, re-evaluated. Maybe you'll be able to have closure. Maybe you'll be able to come back together and understand why this was happening, or for you to re-evaluate it in your own head. The 11th house is also your social life. For many Aquarius, especially if you're Aquarius rising, because the ascendant is very pivotal, it shows the specifically tangible events that are happening in your life, while the moon sign in Aquarius is more subjective. The sun sign has 20% influence as well. So even if your sun sign is in Aquarius, many Aquarius would have experienced that they have to separate themselves from certain social networks that they were part of, or maybe their social life was interrupted, just like in my case, I had to relocate to a different country. So no longer my friends were around. Others might have had it in a harsher way by basically getting disappointed by friends, or reevaluating their friendships and social circle and realizing that certain people no longer support their goals, or because maybe they had too many responsibilities and duties, they could not be part of a social group or environment of some sort, because Saturn is all about hard work. In the 11th house is your social life, so Saturn restricts it and gives priority to responsibilities and duties. But you could have worked very successfully towards achievements of long-term goals, because Saturn is a planet of discipline and hard work. And transiting the 11th house, it means that you are structured and organized, or at least you had to learn to be structured and organized and follow through to achieve long-term goals, economical, socio-economical goals. And maybe a lot of the relationship that you formed over the last 2.5 years were much more to do with work, with relationships that can help you to fulfill your goals, or to fulfill somehow certain responsibilities in your life. In my case, most of the relationship around me were connected to people that I was working with, and a lot of them were Capricorns as well. And it's kind of socially might have been a bit restricted, but it might have been, usually it's quite, when Saturn was transiting the 11th house, especially from the ascendant if it's in Aquarius, to a lesser degree sun on moon, but still, where we achieve some long-term goal. Maybe it's delayed, it's slower, but we go step by step towards it, and we eliminate the unrealistic goals from our life, and we adjust them, and we kind of trim them and streamline them to with reality, so to speak. And so is the same with our friendships. So now, with Mercury going retrograde in December and Saturn in your 11th house, there's very big likelihood that you might be completing some goal or long-term project, because 11th house is about projects, goals, that you have to put the final touches to, that maybe you have to edit, revise, maybe something is not exactly as you want, so it's a bit frustrating, but you have to go over it and do it. And by January, when both Saturn will be in your, will be in your 12th house already, and Mercury will be direct, you'd have completed that project or that goal, or you'd have to kind of somehow something from the past coming to you that had to be revised, redone, reevaluated. You'll be able to release it and move on. Or complete it. It's about completing certain goals or certain friendships coming back and getting in touch with people as well. And certain social economic goals. The 11th house is very much financial house, connected to economic goals that we have. And Mercury retrograde there can be about you revising your behaviors or certain activities through using your skills and your communications, which will allow you to be more economically gainful, maybe get a bonus or maybe whatever, maybe revising your strategy for marketing, whatever it is. Plus also if you're planning some events with big, large groups of people, whether it's conferences, whether it's parties, whether it's lectures of some sort, whether it's you making presentations to big groups of people, audience, the 11th house is your audience, reaching big groups of people. Well, then these might be subject to some kind of revisions, some kind of changes, plan B, plan C. But again, by the time Mercury goes direct, which is towards the end of December, you'd have been able to, even though it might have been frustrating while it was retrograde, you'd have been able to arrange things in a better way so you can proceed. But let's talk now, Saturn towards the end. And as I said, it will be a big revision time of your friendships and your goals for the last 2.5 years, because Saturn also exits your 11th house and Mercury revises it intellectually, from an intellectual point of view, and a different stance, so to speak, so you can summarize. And then Saturn enters the 12th house, Aquarius. That's such an important transit. It happens once every 29 years. And Saturn is us. So wherever Saturn goes, we go. And we're very invested in the area of life that Saturn transits. And we structureize that area, especially Saturn in Capricorn will make us mature a lot in regards to 12th house matters. And what is 12th house matters? Well, on the negative side is things that undermine us subconsciously. It's our buried fears, it's behaviors that stem from past lifetimes or from early childhood that we don't even know why we're acting like that, why we self-sabotage ourselves. Why, for example, do you drink? Why do you smoke compulsively? Why do you, it's not something that we have usually a logical reason for. We do it subconsciously, we do it, or why do we, when we start a business, we people see a lot of potential in us, but we always kind of procrastinate or postpone or self-sabotage ourselves for success. These are all 12th house behaviors which we're unconscious of, might be due to a past lifetimes, because you were traumatized, because you maybe had a big failure and you're afraid of success again, and you lost your social status or whatever. Usually these are fears that are deeply embedded in us and that are irrational. You might have fear of small spaces. You might have fear of losing your partner when your partner is super loyal all the time. You might, any irrational fears that are not based on, well, every fear can happen as a reality, but they're not something that, you don't understand why you are fearful of that. This is the 12th house. So it's a difficult psychological house, and Saturn going there frame freezes those patterns. Actually, it makes them more problematic, and we become way more aware of them. Saturn will intensify such self-sabotaging behaviors and slow things down for us so we can understand where it's stemming from, so we can understand the motivation. So it's a very self-reflective time where you go within. Even if your life is super busy on the outside, something will push you to spend more time alone to analyze what are those behaviors that are self-sabotaging. Why are you drinking? Why are you smoking? Why are you sabotaging your relationships? Why are you, whatever things are happening that if you don't believe in past lifetimes, early childhood, that are buried and we don't understand why we're doing those, we'll have the opportunity to examine them. And the healing will be slow. It takes 2.5 years. It will require a lot of digging and a lot of introspection and a lot of alone time. And it might be great to for some of you to journal, for some of you to travel, for some of you to disconnect from your normal environment in some way, which is like, you know, whatever, 9-to-5 job. And so you can really get in touch with this deep buried part of you. Some of you might have past life regressions, or some of you might have certain memories spontaneously coming to be re-evaluated, and harsh realizations about your behaviors. But the ultimate goal of this transit is that you eliminate those self-sabotaging behaviors. And often, especially Saturn in Capricorn, is really well disciplined, is really well organized and structured, and takes on responsibilities and duties because it wants to be mature. So basically, when the 12th house, it can be a fantastic time when you eliminate a lot of self-undoing behaviors, a lot of inner demons, and through discipline. It's not going to be miraculous healing. It's not going to be, oh, you wake up, you no longer want to, you know, to indulge in self-sabotaging behaviors of any sort. It's going to be a process of you evaluating, digging deep, trying to understand what it is, and gradually releasing it. It's like a long goodbye that you'll do to these self-sabotaging behaviors, but you have Saturn in Capricorn will help you structure yourself and be more disciplined with such self-undoing behaviors, whether it's addictions, and everyone has some addictions of some sort. I don't care what you tell me. Unless you're a saint, you're born in this lifetime to work on some past life issues, and that's past life issues usually create addictive behaviors in us. And this is something that we'll really be dealing with. And it's a bit of a lonely path. As I said, it requires a lot of isolation. And often if a person is not someone who likes to isolate, the circumstances put you in environment where you're more isolated. For example, you might have to travel a lot for work. Saturn is work, 12th house is traveling, but when this makes you more isolated, or you might 12 houses dissolution, Saturn is work. Your work duties, responsibilities might dissolve. So you have to more time. So you no longer, you know, so you're not working. Maybe you take a break. Maybe you get redundant, or maybe you get your responsibilities get dissolved because your job gets dissolved or something, or you take time for maternity, for example. And again, it's a bit more of an isolation. That's what's happening to me now. Saturn moving into my 12th house. I'm not going to be self-isolation because of prolonged maternity leave and stuff. But it even if the circumstances do this, or you consciously want to spend more time alone, you'll notice that. And this is the right thing, because you need to look back over the last 28 years to evaluate what works and what doesn't work, and to remove it from your life. This is not time for new beginnings. There can be new beginnings which prepare you for another new beginning. Maybe like research, maybe like studying something. It's good time for research, for study, for starting university of some sort, for starting investigating for a couple of years a new direction, but not yet to start that new direction, to prepare for it. Because these 2.5 years are about what no longer works, completing all things from the past, endings, letting go of things, detaching from things, removing things that don't work for you, whether it's your own behaviors or other people's circumstances or places you live in or careers or jobs. So there'll be a lot of releasing and endings, but it will almost feel like, yes, this is the time for me to complete this lifestyle, to complete this. It's not like you're so forced, and it's a gradual. It's not like suddenly things ending, you know. The universe allows you time, 2.5 years, to gradually release those things, to have enough time to mourn them and to release them, because you're preparing the foundation, that you're clearing your closet, so to speak. You're clearing skeletons from your closets, clearing your subconscious from self-sabotaging behaviors and from fears. And it's an inner process. It's a deep process. The universe will put you in circumstances where you're either more isolated, or where you travel, or you need more time alone. Many times I've seen people just go traveling around the world, or they isolate themselves more, or they spend more time alone, or they go on some retreat of some sort, or they might and you're cleaning up your head, cleaning up your closet, as they say. And then when Saturn transits the first house, whatever restrictions you had around you, which is usually around restriction of, you know, of how they say, social, of some sort, maybe self-imposed one. In the worst case scenario, Saturn in the 11th house can lead to people being in hospital. That's again places of isolation, prisons. But you need to have indications that in your horoscope that you'll go to prison, that you'll spend time in hospital, you know. It plays out like more self-imposed reflection, reflective time, looking back on the past, reevaluating what was not, completing a lot of things in your life, wrapping them up, seeing completion, seeing good or bad results, depending on what kind of effort you put in your life for that. You know, seeing also the results of your actions for the past 29 years. Have you been treating your body well or not well? If you haven't, you might see dissolution of vitality and force, because Saturn rules your first house, the physical body, in the 12th house. You can see dissolution of that. Okay, if you've been working out well, treating your body well, then you're not going to see that. You know, 12th house is the house of consequences, reaping what you have sown for the previous 28 years. And if you've sown great fruits and great work, you're going to be very much rewarded, and it can be a time of actually contemplating these achievements and being very satisfied with your life and being able to take it a bit easier, going on a break, going kind of the universe allowing you time to reflect, to enjoy yourself, to bask in the achievements that you have. But if you have not put the effort, so if you have not been, and many of us, unfortunately me including, have not been extremely, you know, healthy, or have not been extremely always the best person we can be. So certain things that are no longer valid for you will be dissolved. You'll see the results that these things are not productive for us. Why have we been dragging them? Why have we been dragging that with us? So it's like, it's a period of throwing out baggage, you know. I wouldn't compare it to a sinking ship, but a ship that will sink if you don't throw out certain sandbags. And when you do it, you stabilize it, and then you're ready to enter into this new beginning in your life, which is when Saturn from 2020 enters our first house, where we take more control of our life. And when we start powerful new beginnings and powerful new structures in our life, and building a new identity, a new realization of self, while for the next 2.5 years, it's about maybe taking it a bit more easy, going within, introspecting, giving ourselves more time alone, investigating the past, reflecting, preparing for the future, traveling a bit, dissolving old structures and old habits and behaviors in our life. And another thing, just to let you know, is because 12th house is about the house of sleep. Sometimes people, when Saturn, the planet of blockages and delays, goes there, report that because of duties or responsibility, their sleep, or because of other circumstances, their sleep might be less easy to access. But to be honest, Saturn rules us, so I think this will kind of balance itself out. And 12th house is the house of spiritual work. So for people that are spiritually inclined, people that like to self-analyze, people that like to go within, to investigate, that can be extremely time that they understand a lot about themselves, gradually, slowly, not fast things. And again, good time to relocate to foreign countries. It will be a slower process. It's not going to be as easy because Saturn triggers it. But Saturn is you, so you can literally find yourself located in other, in locations of faraway places. Some people report depression when Saturn transits the 12th house, because especially people that are used to be very active, to be very productive, and all of a sudden the productivity and efficiency and the ability to control the environment of Saturn is dissolved in the 12th house. And they start feeling like they're not in control of their destiny, or that everything that's happening is kind of already been set in motion from previous years, and now they're just seeing results, but they can't instigate changes, or they can't instigate new directions so easily, or new beginnings of some sort. And as I said, powerful new beginnings is not the time for us now, guys. What is the time is maybe to prepare for those, but not to yet initiate them, especially if your ascendant is in Aquarius. The sun and moon, to a lesser degree, you might feel that, but you can initiate still things. So that's how, you know, Saturn through the 12th house will affect many people. It can be great time, or it can be depending on how easy you cope with being more within yourself, being more introspective, paying attention to the spiritual, slowing things down, and looking within. Period. And of course, don't forget that your whole identity will be dissolved. Well, it's not that you're going to be a totally different person after that, but there'll be a lot of things that you identify with that are dissolved from your life, whether it's relationships, whether it's careers, whether it's, and if you're in good relationship, there will not be. There will be revisions and stuff, but what will be dissolved from you is only the festering parts, or the ones that are no longer necessary in your life, and the one that toxic, the one that is self-sabotaging you, blocking you from developing your full potential. But all separations and dissolutions can be painful, and people often can remember such a period as oh, I lost everything. No, you were released from certain oppression. You were liberated from things that were stumbling blocks for you. And you played a part in it yourself. You played a part in liberating yourself. This is what you've been wanting for your whole, for many years. And when you were in your prayers, you are asking for something, you're wondering why it's not coming in your life. Well, now God will give you the ability to get rid of the things that are not allowing you to let this thing that you've been praying for in your life to come. So this is for me, Aquarius. And if you want to know more in depth about Saturn in Capricorn, because this is such an important transit for us, you can attend the webinar with Robert Phoenix on the 9th of December, I think it is. It's only $29. It's 30% off. After that, it becomes $39. He is a world-renowned astrologer, world-famous astrologer. And he was a working astrologer already when Saturn was in Capricorn 29 years ago. So he saw firsthand how it affects people. For me, I'm making those predictions based on astrological thinking, other seen with Saturn transiting the 12th house, but I haven't witnessed. I was too young and didn't know astrology when Saturn was transiting in Capricorn, what exactly happens, how exactly played out for people. So this will be first-hand experience, looking specifically at your positions and how it will affect you personally, and how it will, Saturn in Capricorn will affect the world, and how for you to prepare. For someone that has 30 years of experience, very high level. So that's like the astrological event of the year. Plus we have a Ancient Astrology with Rumen Kolev. He usually sells that webinar for $2,500, but he's selling it for $180. He's making it for Astrolada, just personally for my clients and viewers, for $180, 14 hours. It's over 2 days in the middle of December, Saturday and Sunday. And we're going to examine all the constellations, what it means, say, to have a constellations of Cetus, the sea monster rising when you are born. This, and literally we'll be reading, Rumen Kolev will be reading from an ancient text that's 2,000 years old, that is in ancient Greek. It's not translated. He'll be translating as he goes, and he'll be saying, if you have the sun from 2 degrees till 3 degrees in the Aries, this is the constellation of the sea monster, or the constellation of Athena Pallas affect you, and this is the effect you're going to have in your life. If you have the moon or Venus or any planet from 5 degrees till 6 degrees in Aquarius, this is in the horns of the goat. And what exactly it means it might be very horny. It is literal. So this is information only you have, and only a handful of other people that this book has not been translated on, but who've taken this, this $2,500 webinar for $480 here. So do check this out, guys. This is, this is information. It's not there, and this is how the ancient Babylonian astrologers that work for the king did astrology. So we'll teach you foundations of antique astrology. And of course, while Saturn transits the 12th house, it's a fantastic time for any kind of deep research, for any kind of, and this will be for us for 2.5 years, for really deepening knowledge, deep research, deep knowledge, deep investigation, especially in regards to ancient and old truths or sciences, because Capricorn is about all things that we're going to be digging in and putting efforts into. So it's a great time to start your antique astrology knowledge with the Saturn in your 12th house. Thank you so much, Aquarius, and I will see you